and welcome to episode 33 of the Daily Geeky Pastimes Podcast with all of the gaming news for the 18th of May, 2023. That's kind of what we're going with this podcast at the moment, just really focusing on the news, and there is a lot of news as ever. We're going to have, the main thing we're going to be talking about later is the big PlayStation showcase that's been announced for next week. We're going to be talking about that and kind of what I'm hoping to see from it, and hopefully what you're hoping to see from it. So those of you who are watching this live right now on youtube.com/Geeky Pastimes, let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments, what sort of games are you hoping for just from that PlayStation showcase this time? We did talk a little bit about the whole Summer Games Fest, but I sort of skipped over PlayStation a little bit. So now's our time to talk about it. But first of all, let's talk about what I've been playing just yesterday. I mean, I play so many games, but now I've been doing this, I've realized that every day I play 2 or 3 games, which just seems crazy. So first of all, Warzone Ranked. I got to play a little bit more of this. We played with Flynn and Jack Frags. Got another win. It does seem weird that the 2 times I've won games in Warzone Ranked were both those finishes where the circle's entirely over the water. And now apparently they've done a patch overnight that stops that happening. So maybe I'm never going to win Warzone Ranked again, but I'm still having fun with it. We're up to Silver 3 now, I think, so I'm getting close to getting gold. I think this season that's kind of my target, is if I can get into the gold ranks, I'll be happy. And then maybe next season we'll try and go for platinum or something like that. I think it's possible. So far I haven't had a game where I've lost SR. So maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that we could get higher up, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, Flynn might be about today and we might play a little bit of DMZ, because I want to get that, the blueprint that you get from Crossroad Complex from gathering all the parts. We haven't tried to do that yet, so I might pop in after this stream if he's about and have a go at that, but we'll see. The other game that I played last night was Starship Troopers Extermination. I was lucky enough to be given a key early for this. Me and Cobb and Name Gear all got keys for it, and we played a little bit last night when it launched at 6 o'clock. It's a lot of fun. It's really good. It's really weird. The first time we played it, the first round we played, there was only 5 people in our lobby, us 3 and 2 others, and the game felt weird and empty, and it just it felt a bit overwhelming. The bugs were just too much. We were dying all the time. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel great, and I was I'm not sure about this, but I thought we'll give it another try. We'll give it another game. Maybe it was just an off one, and thank God we did, because then in the next game and all the games after that, we had full lobbies. Because yesterday, I don't think it was actually out yesterday. I think it was a special early access thing for creators. So there weren't as many people playing it. But yeah, we got full lobbies after that. And it's so much fun with a full lobby. You've got I think about 20 people in a server playing together. And just absolutely storming through this desert, completing objectives, working together. You see different squads going off to do different objectives at the same time. Then occasionally everyone kind of comes together to hold a sort of location against the armies of bugs coming in. Then at the end you get to build a massive base and sort of put up walls, put up turrets, walkways and stuff like that, and then try and defend that base against hordes of the bugs, which is just kind of just like it is in the films. I put up a big video about it last night. The video is actually doing all right, which is quite nice. But yeah, I put up a video of it last night with a lot of gameplay. There's 15 minutes or so of gameplay in that. It's well worth a watch. That game is super fun. I'm having a really good time. There are some caveats. I would say this is very much an early access game. It's gone into PC early access. And while I think the shooting feels good and it runs really well and it looks pretty good as well, it doesn't look incredible, but the bug models look really good, and there's a lot of them on screen at once, and I think that helps a lot. But yeah, so the art style looks good, I should say. That looks cool. But there aren't that much. There isn't that much to do right now. There's not that many weapons to unlock. There's not many sort of map locations and things like that. It all looks kind of the same at the moment. It just seems this is very much the early part of it. There's 4 difficulties and we've only got 3 of them at the moment. There's a lot of content missing so far, but if you just want to try it out, if you just want to try the gameplay, I would say well worth it. I don't think it's even that expensive, to be honest. It's not a super expensive game, and I'm just going to double check that before I say something stupid. But because I didn't pay for it. Yeah, £20, £21 for the early access game. I would strongly suggest giving it a go if you're interested. I can heartily recommend it based on the content that's just there. And looking at the Steam reviews, it's on very positive already, so other people seem to be enjoying it too. It even has a really cool kind of a cool aesthetic to it, where at the beginning it's all done as like a TV news report kind of thing. Like you're watching a news report and then you're playing as one of the soldiers in that news report doing a fight. And it does some cool stuff. Like you do lose sometimes, like you have to defend a thing at the end. And if you lose, you still get to evacuate. You still like get to get a bit more XP if you manage to get out alive. That was something that happened in Titanfall that I always really liked. You know, that even if you lose the match, you get a bit more XP if you can get to the dropship and get out. And like that leads to some really fun moments. So yeah, like we had a really good time. I'm definitely up for playing it some more. I'm really hoping at some point like Jack Frags or Two Angry Gamers are going to hop onto it. And if they are, I might try and join them because that would be super fun. It was really good. So yeah, if you want to see more about Starship Troopers Extermination, I have a video. It's the last video that I posted on my channel. So go watch that one after this podcast, obviously. But it was really good. I've also not been playing Zelda. I still haven't played, like, it's been days since I played it. I think Saturday, maybe Sunday was the last time I played it. And it's weird, like, I enjoy it. It's a good game. I've been surprised with how much I've enjoyed it because I didn't really love Breath of the Wild, but I'm having a good time with this. But I've just felt like I wanted to play Warzone Ranked and DMZ and, like, Starship Troopers and Layers of Fear and all of these other things. Lego 2K Drive. There's been, like, so many good games this week that it's just kind of put Zelda a little bit on the back burner. I will go back to it at some point. At some point, I'll sit down and like properly try to get into it. But like streaming it is a bit of a pain. Like the Switch seems to have changed something about the way it works, so I can't get the audio out in the way that I used to, which means that I can't. The way if I want to play it, I have to have the audio with a very weird setup that I don't really want. Where there's going to be like a little bit of delay and it's just going to be a bit awkward. I have to recable some things. And so, yeah, I'm not massively in love with the idea of playing Zelda on stream, which means like, because there's so many other games that I do want to play on stream, I just haven't got back to it. But despite me not personally spending much time on it, I was surprised to see yesterday it sold 10 million copies in 3 days. And I know Zelda's going to sell well. Like, I think Breath of the Wild, when it came out, that it had sold more copies on Switch than there had been Switches sold. Like, there were more copies of Breath of the Wild than there were Switches. Which is insane. But so obviously Zelda sells well, and obviously the Switch is an incredibly successful console. But 10 million copies in 3 days for a game that, you know, still seems like it should be quite niche. You know, it's an action adventure game with some complex systems. It doesn't like run that well. It doesn't look that great. It's just an insane number. Often you see games celebrating that they sell like 1 million copies, and that's like, you know, whoa, that game was a crazy success. 10 million copies in 3 days is just like mind blowing. So like GG to Nintendo. That's absolutely awesome. I'm sure we will see more games like this in future. Like they'd be crazy not to do stuff like that. It also kind of hits home the whole thing where people, you know, people keep saying, oh, they need to release a Switch 2. They need to release a Switch upgrade. They need to upgrade the hardware. And it's like very clearly they don't. Like, you know, this is another one of these things that has become a recurring topic on the podcast. The gaming community, the sort of online gaming community, especially focused around like Twitter or Reddit, is so detached from the reality of the industry that they just don't know what they're talking about in general. You know, and I'm a part of that. I'm a part of sometimes speculating on stuff that I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's like very clearly Nintendo do not need new hardware. They do not need to make anything new because they're selling games at an insane rate when they bring them out. Even when it's running at like 30 frames a second and it's blurry and all stuff like that. So yeah, Zelda, very successful, despite me not playing it. Just before we move on to the news, just want to say good morning to all the people who have shown up in chat. I do very much appreciate all of you, and don't forget to like the stream. So good morning to Robert Very and Thundergun and Madjock and Affers. A lot of you have been here like for every single one. Absolutely awesome. Thank you so much. And Paulo's here. Skinner's made it. Devilish Fiend is there. He says, I do not hit the like button until I'm enjoying the content. Why would I like something I've not watched, listened to, used, experienced? That's not to say I shall not like the podcast. Thank you for letting us know. It's just a thing, you know, we say call to action, press the like button, because otherwise people forget. A lot of people do like this podcast because they watch it every day. Justin, I look like I've just busted out of prison. I'm wearing, actually, weirdly, some very rare Geeky Pastimes merch. There's not many of these in the world, because I made them very early on when I was streaming. I fell into that trap that a lot of streamers do, where they make merch super, super early on when they've only got, you know, like 10 people watching them. I decided, like you sign up to these websites because it's super easy. It's like just whack your logo on it. There you go. There's merch. They do all of the shipping. They do all of the printing. You don't really make any money from it, but like it exists, and that's kind of cool. So I did that, and I ordered one of them because I wanted to have one. And I think probably I sold like 5 or 6 t-shirts and things like that. So there's 5 or 6 t-shirts, like Geeky Pastimes t-shirts, out there in the world. So now this has become a very limited collector's edition item, which is very cool. One day I might do merch again, but I'm definitely fallen into, if I ever do it, I'm going to do it the way that a lot of people do now, where it's like, I'm going to print 50 of something, and then I will just get them all sent here. I will pay for them to get printed. I will get them sent here, and then I'll do the shipping and stuff like that. Partly because I can make more money off it, but partly also I think it's more fun if they're super limited, if it's like there's not that many of them. But good morning, Joe W. as well, and Thundergun said, not managed to catch you live in a long while. I imagine having to work, but I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're enjoying the podcast style content. I'm really enjoying doing this. It's been a huge amount of fun so far. Right. So the next story, sorry, I just accidentally wiped out my notes because I clicked on, someone had sent me a Discord message. Very silly Discord message. Anyway, the news. There's quite a lot of news today, actually. There's quite a lot to get through. I think we've got like 7 different things to talk about, which is a lot. So the first one is kind of an update to yesterday's story. Yesterday, I talked about a game called Hawken that was apparently coming back from the dead. Hawken was this cool mech game, pretty much made by one person, as far as I remember, that had a cool graphical style. People really liked it. And then a new game came out, and it actually got released yesterday, I think, or last night, called Hawken Reborn. It's a free-to-play game, but it's a PvE thing, like you're shooting just AI in it. And apparently it's really bad. Like, I was surprised. When I start this podcast, but in the morning, I quickly go through all of the news sites that I normally look at. And then I also look at some other news sites in case like there's just stuff that I've missed. So I looked at Kotaku this morning, and they were like, the Hawken game sucks. And it's like that really abrasive tone that Kotaku has recently that I'm not a big fan of. I think it's just oddly insulting to people a lot of the time. But I was like, that seems rude. But then I looked at the Steam reviews, and it's like, it does, it's on mostly negative. People are not happy with that game for various reasons. So if you were excited about a new Hawken game, maybe lower your expectations. I would say it's free, so it's not like you're going to waste money. If you want to download it, give it a go. But people are saying it's like a mobile game, which isn't good. Also, the thing that I thought made it a bit more newsworthy is that it's apparently in its, early access version, it's only got 6 mission types. Or like 6 short missions that the idea is that you just grind them and do them over and over again. But 6 isn't very long. Apparently they're really short and really easy. But you can buy currency on Steam and buy microtransactions, and the microtransactions aren't cosmetic. There's stuff like you buy new mechs and new guns and things like that. It's, got the whole pay-to-win kind of idea behind it, which is a really worrying kind of thing. If a game launches with barely any content, but it's got a store where you can buy advantages in game, that's like a bad sign. That's like a scary sign. And it's kind of interesting that obviously we've had that with DMZ very recently, where it looks like DMZ's going down that pay-to-win route a little bit, or like, you pay to get advantages in the game. And then this game's come out and like it's doing it. I wonder if there's something amongst publishers where they think that that's okay. Like I was talking a little bit last night when I was playing with Jack and Flynn, that I do think we're coming up to a point where current monetization models for basically all entertainment are failing and are going to fail, and there's going to be some sort of big shift. And we've seen this, over the last sort of 10, 20 years. We've seen it, like we used to have expansion packs for games where, originally when I remember it, you'd get the expansion pack for something like Call of Duty or Warcraft, and it would be like a really big thing. There'd be a big expansion, like a new story, new stuff for multiplayer. It would essentially be like kind of what now gets sold as a sequel would be sold as an expansion pack, and it'd be like half the price of a new game, but it would have a lot of new content. And then with the original Xbox and with, was it Halo 2, I want to say, was the first game where we started getting these like map packs that you had to pay for, where it's like, okay, in a multiplayer game, in a first-person shooter type thing, they're going to start selling a map pack, and it'll be about £15, and you'll get maybe like 5 maps in it, or you'll get 3 maps and a new weapon or something like that. something like that. And a lot of people didn't like those for good reasons. Like, it sucked with games, especially like Halo, with Call of Duty, with Battlefield, where you would buy a map pack and then your friends didn't, and now you couldn't play with your friends anymore. You couldn't play on the new maps with them, so you just end up playing the old maps anyway. It just sort of split the player base, and it wasn't a lot of fun. And yeah, it just kind of sucked, to be honest. And then we got the microtransactions, the cosmetics, and they did loot boxes for a long while. This idea of you get a chance of getting something really good, and you can buy a loot box. It only costs like £2 or £3, but you get a chance of getting something really good. And lots of people decided, like, hey, this is really unhealthy. This is encouraging gambling, especially like FIFA Ultimate Team and stuff like that. It felt very much like, when it wasn't just cosmetic stuff, it felt very sort of skeezy, and people didn't like that either. And like the model for that was very clearly they knew most people wouldn't buy any, but some people would get hopelessly addicted to it and spend a fortune on it. You heard of people spending like thousands and thousands of pounds on FIFA Ultimate Team and stuff. And it's like, okay, this is a problem. Like, this probably shouldn't be allowed. And then Belgium banned it, and then other countries started talking about it, and companies generally moved away from those. And then we got the battle passes. Like, Fortnite did their battle pass. I think they were one of the first ones. And it's weird thinking that battle passes didn't used to be a thing, but now they're like in basically every game. Even like single player games sometimes have battle passes, which just seems crazy. And so now battle passes have been a thing for a long while, where it's like, hey, you give us £10 every 2 months or so, and then you'll get a bunch of cosmetics built into this, but all of the gameplay stuff will be free and kind of subsidized by all of the people that buy the battle pass. And generally games have like, cosmetic microtransactions and stuff like that. You can pay a bit of money to get a skin you want. You can pay a bit of money to get a gun you want, whatever it is. And that's sort of something that we've seen going on for quite a long while. And I think there's a bit of fatigue about it. There's a lot of cynicism about it. And, again, rightfully so. There's a lot of people look at this stuff and are like, now you're getting skins in Call of Duty that are costing like £25, £30. And it's like, is this really worth it? And we know, when they do Warzone 3, you probably won't get your skins from Warzone 2. So, whatever you're buying is just something you can only use for a certain amount of time. And, to me at least, you're buying a skin for a first-person game where you don't even get to see that skin most of the time. It's got very limited value. And the price of them keeps going up because obviously, and I think this is the thing that a lot of gamers miss the point on, is that games are getting more expensive to make. Like, people are constantly demanding higher quality and more content and more regular updates. And that costs an insane amount of money, just in staffing, just in keeping people on. You used to have, with a AAA game, maybe in the past, a AAA game would have a studio with like 30 people in it. And once they shipped the game, even before they finished shipping the first game, a proportion of those would start working on the next game. And then when they shipped that game, you'd have a small proportion of them would stay on to like deal with bugs and stuff like that, deal with patches. But the majority of the studio would move on to the new game. And, so then they'd be able to have a new AAA full price game every like 3 years or so with a team of like 30, 40 people. And now you have like single games that are being made by literally like multiple development studios, lots of which will be bigger than that. Like, lots of development studios that have like 100 people, over 100 people working for them. And when a game comes out, it's expected that a large part of that development force will keep on working on it, to keep on making new maps, new characters, new modes, supporting all of the server infrastructure, keeping it running all the time. It has to be running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with no downtime. Otherwise, it's an absolute failure. It's expected all of that to be run. With games like Call of Duty, you expect things like CDL and World Series of Warzone, which that requires a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of money. There's all of this going on. And then that's before they can even start working on the next game. So if you want to still keep releasing a game every year or every 2 years or every 3 years, you need multiple development studios, which obviously Call of Duty's been doing for a while now, where you've got like 14 studios working on the game. Or you need to go down the route of like, okay, well, we're just not going to release games anywhere near as often. But that means you're not getting that sort of 70 quid from all of your users every year or every 2 years or every 3 years. So that's kind of where Ubisoft have gone. They released Rainbow Six Siege and they haven't brought out a new one for years. They did the same for, For Honor, and they do the same for quite a lot of their sort of multiplayer games, really. They just don't bring out many new games for them. It's a very different thing. And now all of those people, now you've got those big development teams with dozens of people, sometimes hundreds of people working on them. All of those people need a wage, need a fair wage. And obviously there's lots going on with unions and stuff like that to make sure people do get paid a fair wage and it's a competitive market, etc. They all need to be paid. And the longer you're paying them for doing the work, then obviously like that's an insane cost. If you've got a developer that's getting, I don't know how much a developer gets, let's say for the sake of maths to make it easy, $50,000 a year. And in the past you would have like 10 developers working on something. So that's now 500, like $500,000 a year. Every year you're hiring those 10 developers. That's $500,000. And now with new games, that's changed to 40 developers. Now that's $2 million a year, every year that you're employing those developers. Like that's an insane amount of money. And that's not counting in, running a bigger office and having all of the extra support staff to deal with that. It just gets very expensive very quickly. So like games now are costing an insane amount of money to make compared to what they used to. But we're not really paying any more for them. Games right now are costing about the same as they did in the 90s. Like the price of a game is about the same. And yes, there's more people playing them. There's a bigger audience, so that helps out a bunch. But I think it's kind of unsustainable that the box price will keep it going. And obviously with cosmetics and microtransactions, I feel like as people start thinking it's not worth it, start thinking that, oh, we've seen this before. People have a lot of microtransactions, like have a lot of cosmetics and stuff like that now already in their libraries for games that have been going for a long while. I imagine the sales of those probably drop off a little bit, like they get less. And, Call of Duty in particular, it feels like for them to get a really successful one, a really successful cosmetic, it has to be a licensed one, which again will cost more money because, they need to pay for the license. They need to pay for scanning people in. They need to pay people for their likeness or whatever, their voice acting, all of that sort of stuff. It's all getting much more expensive. And I think people are less willing to give money to it. And then you've got the problem, and this is like compounding, that people are expecting more for free. Like over the last 5-6 years, if a multiplayer game comes out and it's not free to play, people are just like, oh, well, that's dead. Like, it's never going to get a server population. Like, how are they possibly going to do it? People don't want companies to charge for their games. People expect to be able to play new multiplayer games for free. So, there's plenty of people, I would imagine a large percentage of people that have never paid a cent for Warzone or Fortnite or, I don't know, Rocket League or Counter-Strike or Dota or League of Legends. Like these massive AAA games are like, really, really well supported, well developed. There's a lot of people playing them who literally don't pay any money for them at all. So it's like, where's that revenue going to keep coming from? And because people do have those high expectations, if you release a game and you're like, oh, okay, well, we're not going to do all of these microtransactions. We're not going to try and fleece the users for as much every penny we can. We're just going to make the game for cheaper. Then you get into problems of people saying, oh, well, the servers suck, so I'm not playing that. Or like, oh, they're not releasing content quickly enough, so I'm not playing that. Or the graphics aren't good enough. Or like, oh, this isn't as good as Call of Duty, or this isn't as good as Rainbow Six Siege, or whatever. And it's like, it's almost impossible to compete unless you're spending a huge amount of money on all of these things. So like, where's that money gonna come from in future? I think is a real problem for the, just for the industry in general. And it's not just film, it's not just games. Like TV shows now, because of things like Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, like the expectation is that TV shows will be of a much higher quality and, basically cinema quality. And, if you're making a film for the cinema, you're making a 2-hour kind of thing. If you're making a TV show, you're making like 10 hours of content, at least 20 hours of content. But now you've got to make it cinema quality, otherwise it looks like crap compared to a lot of the stuff that's doing well on TV. And, even with movies, because of things like the MCU and because of Star Wars, basically because of Disney, you've got to compete against that. If you're making an action film and it doesn't look as good as Fast and the Furious, or it doesn't look as good as the MCU films, then, people are going to be comparing it unfavorably. So the price of all of these things is going up. But people are willing to pay less, but not just because of the cost of living crisis, which I think is hitting everyone, but also just people get so much content for free. People expect to be able to watch stuff for free. But, there's so many people who just consume, they play Warzone and Fortnite for free. they watch stuff on YouTube for free. A lot of the time, they'll run an ad blocker or something on YouTube because they're like, ho, 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 I'm not even watching ads. I'm not supporting the people who make this stuff at all. And, they're proud of it. Like, I get people in my streams being like, no ads for me. I run ad blocker. And it's like, oh, that kind of sucks. That's kind of irritating. But advertising, I would imagine the advertising money is probably drying up a little bit because how effective really are YouTube adverts when everyone gets so used to them? Like, I don't even register what a YouTube advert is, hardly ever. I'll just wait for that skip ad thing to appear, or if it says, this ad's running on 30 seconds, I'll just get my phone out immediately, start reading something on my phone, just completely ignore whatever is happening on the screen. And surely advertisers are aware of that. Advertisers realize that there's a lot of stuff, unless you've got like a movie trailer or something, people probably aren't paying attention to it on the YouTube adverts. And if that's happening, then like, how are we going to fund YouTube? Like, how are they going to keep on making stuff? I'm not going to keep on making videos on YouTube full time if I don't make any money from it. Like, if the advertising money disappears, that's going to be a problem. So I think they need to look for other like revenue sources. They need to find, and like I was saying, people aren't going to the cinema as much. Whenever I go to cinema now, it's nearly always like empty. It's just, I think it's a real problem. And it's like trying to work out how these companies, how these media creators will find ways to raise money is kind of interesting. And I think, they'll experiment. So video games will try going back to pay to win stuff and being like, how about we start selling advantages in our games? Can we get away with it? And like, how far can they push the boundaries of like, will people buy stuff? With the DMZ stuff, it's a very sort of small advantage. And it's like, are people okay with this? And I think generally a lot of people are. There hasn't been the outrage about the DMZ pay to win stuff as I'd expect. You see a lot of stuff on Call of Duty Twitter, on Reddit or whatever, on YouTube, people being outraged about it. But it hasn't got into the mass media. I'm not seeing articles on IGN and Eurogamer, like ongoing things. I think maybe they mentioned it once, but then it sort of passed by. It's not a sort of thing that's caused a lot of outrage where people, not back like when Star Wars Battlefront 2 had some little things that weren't even as bad as this. And then people were going, it was like dominating the game's news cycle for a month. It doesn't seem like that at all. So I wouldn't be surprised if Activision were like, okay, people are buying it. People don't seem to care that much about it. People are still, playing DMZ. They're still making content for DMZ. Let's just keep pushing it. Let's keep going with it. And maybe they'll try other things. I was talking to Jack about how I've always said that I think games as a live service, games that are ongoing, will probably end up doing more subscriptions. We'll probably get more games where it's like, okay, we don't want you to be playing like 10 different games at once. We want you to focus on our game. So you're going to play Call of Duty. We're going to make you pay a £10 a month subscription for it. You'll get all of the stuff included it used to. So it seemed like really good value because now you're getting loads of cosmetics. You're getting things like the Battle Pass. You're getting all the new maps and everything like that. You're getting the game when it comes out, the campaign, the multiplayer, all of that stuff for £10 a month. And that means that now everyone who's playing is paying £120 a month, or maybe, they'll do a deal where it's like, if you pay for a year, you get it for £100 a month. And it's like, now everyone's paying more than just a base game. Maybe that'll be a way they do it, but it means, like people were saying in my chat last night, it does suck for people who play, if you play Warzone and Fortnite and Apex and League of Legends and Counter-Strike, then suddenly all of them want a £10 a month subscription to be able to play. Suddenly you're going to have to make choices about which ones to do. Like I did with TV. I used to have a Netflix subscription, and then I had Amazon Prime because I use it for ordering stuff, but I get to watch TV. And then you have Disney Plus, and it's like, oh, but there's some really good stuff now on Apple TV. And like, what about Paramount? Do you want to watch Paramount? Do you want to watch Formula One races? Because I need a Sky Sports subscription. And everything's kind of separated out a little bit to the point where I'm like, well, actually, I don't really watch Netflix that much. I'll cancel Netflix. Or like, we don't really need to order stuff from Amazon Prime all the time. We'll cancel Amazon Prime. And sort of month to month, we just cancel a few subscriptions and then maybe restart other ones when new content becomes available. And it'll be interesting to see like where that goes. Or maybe there'll be other models. Maybe there'll be things that I haven't even thought of that will raise money. Like I do think advertising is a bit of a nonsense. I think advertising is maybe on its way out, unless they do different types of advertising. Like, how long would it be? Imagine if Warzone stays free to play, but before you start each game, you've got 30 seconds of adverts. in the game, like in that bit, where at the moment we're in a lobby running around shooting each other. Imagine if they replaced that with advertising. I could imagine that happening. I could imagine that being a thing where it's like, okay, you watch adverts until the game begins. And then they sell that advertising space. I think there'll be stuff like that. And it's like, they have to make money somehow. And that's not a bad thing. Like, them wanting to make money is not a bad thing. I think it often gets framed that way. It often gets framed as like, oh, these game companies are like, money grubbing. They're getting more money than they deserve. They shouldn't be asking us for more money and stuff. But it's like, all you ever hear about is profits and stuff. You never hear about how much money they've spent on cancelled things, how much money they've spent on things that didn't work out. All of that money that gets thrown away for the sake of like kind of the overall progress. How much money everything's costing, how much their forecasting stuff will cost. Like Joe W saying there that, maybe Call of Duty is going to be like 300 million euros in the future. I think GTA 5 was already like $500 million, wasn't it? Something like that. It's like, I think those sort of things, those costs will keep on going up. And it's like, that is paying the developers. That's paying people to make good quality games. So I think as gamers, we should be looking at these different monetization things and not just rejecting them all. I think that's something that I find a bit childish, like a little bit annoying, is when people are like, no, I want free-to-play games, I don't want to pay a battle pass, I don't want microtransactions, I don't want pay to win, and I don't want advertising. It's like, but how do you want to pay the people that are making the stuff? Like, we've just had this weird generation for the last like 10 years or so, maybe a little bit longer, where everyone just expects everything to be free. Google is free, Gmail, all of those things is free. YouTube is free, WhatsApp is free, Instagram's free, Twitter's free, Facebook is free. Warzone, Fortnite, Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Dota, all of these things are free. And just like, obviously they make money in other ways by like, selling your data or advertising. And people reject that. And it's like, but where do you want them to make money from? Like, you need to accept something. You need to accept that at some point there are a lot of people working on these incredible products, like really like world-class, amazing products that let you do amazing things that just weren't even possible 20 years ago. People didn't even imagine that they would be possible. You can get all this amazing stuff and you're not paying a penny for it. Like, you need to do something. And YouTube's the same, where obviously lots of people watch my content on YouTube for free. And it's like, if you're watching adverts, then you're still supporting me. If you're watching this content and you're watching the adverts, then that is supporting me, because then I get money from ad revenue. That's where most of my money comes from, is from ad revenue. And so I get money from that, and I appreciate that. Some of you are super nice and you are members of the channel, and that gives me a little bit of extra money a month, and that's like a massive boost, because that means, each person that's a member, I'm getting like 200 times as much money as I would if you weren't a member. So I really appreciate that. That like helps me to keep paying the bills. Without that, I wouldn't be able to do it. People who are Twitch subs or YouTube members, that sort of like is really a thing that keeps me going, keeps me afloat a little bit. And I don't make much money doing this at all. And then you get like, obviously some people buy YouTube Premium, and that still supports me. I get a little bit of money from that. And then you get people who watch my sponsored stuff. If you watch any of my sponsored video, if you're one of the 300 people that watched my Redfall sponsored video, massive thanks to you. That helps me out a bunch. Supporting creators when they do sponsored content, even if it's not something you like, even if it's like a creator you like, but they're playing Raid Shadow Legends or Star Trek Fleet Command, or they're talking about, I don't know, Ridge wallets or whatever, Udis. If you're watching their sponsored stuff, if you're watching their advertisements that they've been asked to run, that's brilliant, because that helps them to get more sponsorships, helps them to keep making more content. But if you're watching a creator and you've got ad block on, and you're not giving them a penny, why should they care about you? Like, why should, like, all you're doing is like getting the benefit of their work, and you're giving literally nothing back. And there seems to be like a big group of people that are like that. Like I said, playing games for free, watching TV for free, watching videos for free, following creators, and just not ever spending a penny on it. And it's like, that's unsustainable. Like, if everyone does that, then the content doesn't get made. Like, no one creates the stuff that you're enjoying. You have to find some way to give it back, even if that just means turning your ad blocker off. Like, that is, I'm not saying everyone should become a member, although that would be amazing if everyone became a member. Perfect. But I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, think about where the things that you're consuming and how you're paying for it, and like what you're willing to pay, like how you're willing to engage with that. You can't just be a spoiled little kid and have everything for free all the time. Anyway, that was a big rant, and we've barely got through any of the news. Only 25 minutes left. I'll talk a little bit about stuff in chat, because otherwise we're going to come back to this topic and it will go on forever. So, SoCal Canuck said Flynn has a shirt. Flynn doesn't have a shirt. I think Flynn joined the channel after I did the merch stuff. It wasn't like, I don't know for sure. Affas said, which subscription service goes under first? It's really interesting, yeah. Like when you're looking at things like Disney Plus and Netflix and Paramount Plus, you do hear about them. They're investing, like they all invest insanely in TV shows to try and attract people to the service. But then it's like, are they making enough money to cover that? Probably not. And we're already seeing the tail end of that. The Netflix was investing an insane amount of money, is starting to cut back now. You're seeing a lot less sort of high budget, high profile films and TV shows from Netflix. I imagine all of those things like Disney Plus and Paramount stuff will do the same. I doubt we'll be getting, so many Star Wars and MCU TV shows from Disney Plus over the next few years, I imagine. And Alpha said the first map pack was Rainbow Six free on the Xbox. Was that before Halo 2? That's shocking. I thought Halo 2 had paid ones, but I might be wrong. Partaga says, is the ranked live stream up as a VOD? It should be. I don't know if I've got VODs turned on Twitch. I think I do. I'll double check while I'm talking, but I'm fairly confident I have my VODs turned on. Just muting it. Videos. Yes, it is. It is still up there. It's at 298 views. So you can watch it as a VOD. You can also watch all of my time with Starship Troopers if you want to see the entire games rather than me cutting and changing. So you can watch all of that over twitch.tv/Geeky Pastimes. Thundergun said, before Battle Passes, I remember gift grinding random challenges to get calling cards and emblems and skins. Yeah, I mean, even as recently as Black Ops 4, Black Ops 4, which I still hold out as one of the, that was the last Call of Duty that I thought was doing nearly everything right. And I know loads of people didn't like the operators, they didn't like it, didn't have a campaign, they didn't like the loot boxes and stuff like that, but I just loved pretty much everything about Black Ops 4. I thought it was amazing. And that, doing really cool challenges, really hard challenges to try and unlock operators in Blackout was so much fun. Any news on Stalker 2? Not that I've heard of, Gonkra. Not that I've heard of. It's really difficult with Stalker 2 because, they're a Ukrainian developer. Obviously, they've got bigger things to deal with right now than making a video game. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something about it at Microsoft have a show on June 12th, I think. So I imagine we'll probably see something about it then. Alpha said you've been curious how many projects Blizzard have started and abandoned because World of Warcraft keeps the lights on. Yeah, for sure. I mean, also just releasing a game can cost you more money than not releasing it. Sometimes games just get cancelled because it's if we release this, we're going to have to do the marketing for it. We're going to have to support it. We're going to have patches and stuff like that. We're going to have to run the servers for it. Sometimes it's just not worth it. Blizzard have famously, I was talking about that yesterday, have famously cancelled a lot of games. A lot of high-profile games. And everyone has. Rockstar have cancelled games. The Agent was a big one that we know for sure got cancelled. And I imagine they probably have loads of attempts at other things that they've cancelled. Ubisoft, famous, cancelled 9 games this year or something that we heard about. Big publishers are constantly cancelling games that probably have tens of millions of dollars put into them already that are just gone. They're never going to get a return on that. Maybe they learned something for tech and stuff like that, but it's hard to see. Rob Very says premium login, your wait time is 20 minutes or play now for dollars. Yeah, maybe fast passes at Disney World. Maybe it'll be something like that. Genie Plus at Disney World. It'll be something where you can queue to play the next game of Warzone, have a long matchmaking time, or you can pay a few dollars to get in quickly. That's a good idea. I wouldn't like that, but it's definitely something that could happen. Paulo said, I really don't mind the microtransactions, but you're having nothing in game for free anymore. There's no rewards in game. I mean, that's definitely an exaggeration, isn't it, Paulo? With DMZ alone, you can get for free, you can get that new blueprint where the one that I wanted to get today, the heat gun one, where you have to go and pick up all of the different pieces of the blueprint and put them together. You get a cool thing there. You get a bunch of rewards for the missions. Not necessarily the best rewards, but you do get rewards. All of the ranked rewards that you get at the moment, you get those for free. Ranked is entirely free in Call of Duty. There's a lot of things that you do get for free. But just, yeah, a lot of the best stuff they say for bundles. Well, again, because they need to make money. YouTube Premium might be the best subscription service you pay for, Affas. Yeah, I wish I had it. I just can't afford it. I can't justify YouTube Premium at the moment. I'll just have to sit and watch ads. I'm struggling a little bit money-wise this month. and it's those sort of subscription services are the first things to just cut out and get rid of. Try and save a little bit of money because you have to pay for food, and food's insanely expensive right now. Food is bizarrely expensive. Right, so let's move on to the next news story then. I think I caught up on all the comments. So we've got a lot of quite exciting news, really. A lot of good stuff, new things that are coming out, new announcements. So BlizzCon is coming back. BlizzCon's coming back in November. BlizzCon hasn't been running for a while. It doesn't run every year. We had the pandemic, obviously, and then they didn't run one last year because they were just like, we don't really have anything to show off. Dragonflight and Overwatch 2 had already kind of had their thing. Diablo 4, they'd already shown off a lot about it. They didn't have something like big and new to announce. But they've announced that BlizzCon is coming in November. So it's kind of exciting to think of what are they going to show at BlizzCon. I would hazard a guess that'll be the new World of Warcraft expansion. So they'll announce that at BlizzCon. And then obviously there'll be lots of the panels and stuff will be about that. It'll be interesting to see if they announce another new game. I feel like if they're announcing a BlizzCon, they've got something else to show. So whether that's StarCraft 3, whether that'll be, I don't know, maybe by then they'll be announcing like a Diablo expansion. Maybe they're going to do lots of regular expansions. They have said there will be expansions to Diablo 4. So maybe they'll do that, a new character for Diablo 4 or something like that. Or maybe it'll be an entirely new IP. That would be awesome too. Probably a Hearthstone expansion as well. They normally do that. But yeah, I'll be excited to see. Blizzard are working on a survival game that we know exists. They've sort of said they are working on an unannounced survival game. I know Osama Dorius on Twitter, who used to be over at Warner Brothers. He is the creative director on it, and that's kind of what his profile says. Unannounced survival game. So Blizzard are working on a survival game. No idea what that could be. That could mean basically anything. Like, I think that'll be exciting. I think that could be what's getting announced. So looking forward to that. But other than that, we don't know. I've seen people in chat saying World of Warcraft console. I would love World of Warcraft to come out on console. There's a mod for it that lets you use a controller, and it works really well. It just works like Final Fantasy 14 does. That works really good. I just feel like maybe it's too late now. Like maybe it's just missed the boat. That I can't imagine them bringing out WoW. I feel like WoW Classic was the time to bring it out on console. When WoW Classic launched, they could have launched that on console and gone through the progression of expansions from the beginning. But now it just seems like it's not going to happen. But whatever their new game is, maybe that'll come out on console, and that'll be good. Diablo's coming on console, so Blizzard do support console occasionally. And it's weird thinking back, but StarCraft came out on the N64, which seems bizarre now, the thought that an RTS game came out on the N64. I think Command & Conquer was on it as well. But StarCraft definitely was. And that's seems strange now. They have supported console. Right, and then the next news story. This is a very small one, but I just think it's funny. And if people don't know about it, hopefully it'll get a smile off you. Nicolas Cage is coming to Dead by Daylight. His character from The Fog is coming to Dead by Daylight. They're showing off some more about it sometime soon. But I just think it's fun. There's lots of people saying that, he should be in every horror game now. I do get a kick out of these things like celebrities or film characters being in games. I like all that stuff. I like it in Call of Duty when we had Rambo and John McClane and stuff like that. I think it's fun. I enjoy it. I know some people are like, oh, it's silly and it breaks the immersion. But it's like, the ship sailed on most of these games. I want as many things possible. I played a tiny bit of Fortnite last night, and I was enjoying running around as the Xenomorph from Alien doing stuff. I want more stuff like that. And Nicolas Cage in every film, how come Nick Cage is not in Call of Duty yet? Surely that's got to happen at some point. Then another news story, The Expanse Telltale series. The first episode's coming out on the 27th of July. We have a date for it now. This is something that I think, I don't know, a while ago I would have been really excited about it. I really used to enjoy all of those Telltale games. I liked The Walking Dead. I loved Wolf Among Us. I thought that was really good. I know my wife really liked Tales from the Borderlands. There's a few of them. I quite liked even Jurassic Park. I thought that was kind of fun. The Batman one was all right. There's just a lot of fun with those. But I did start getting a bit tired of them. I started finding them a bit samey, a little bit tedious. Then obviously Telltale went bankrupt, which was a bit strange. And then a new company kind of bought the name and became Telltale with some of the old developers, but not all of them. And now they're working on Wolf Among Us 2, and they're working on this Expanse series. It's set I think it's like a prequel to to the book series, The Expanse. It's all about drama, like before the events of the TV show or the books. And it's like, it could be exciting, but if it's just like those old Telltale games, I don't know if I've got time. I don't know if I care about it enough. Like, I just don't know if I'm that interested in playing another one of those games. I'll probably play Wolf Among Us 2 because I loved the first one. I like Fables a lot. I think that could be really cool. But I just don't know if I can be bothered with the Expanse one. So the Expanse is a weird thing where I bounced off the TV show so many times. I tried to watch it. People kept telling me it was amazing. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't really like it. And then I read the books and loved the books, read all the way through the book series, watched the TV series again. I still didn't love the TV series. I still don't think the TV series is great. I don't think the actors are very good. But, you know, there's some cool stuff in there, mostly because the story from the books is good. And yeah, I don't know. This seems like it's much more based on the TV series than it is on the books. You know, in terms of like how the characters, it's the same actress playing drummer as, you know, the person that played her in the TV show. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how excited I am about this. It is interesting that they're going back to what Telltale always wanted to do originally, of they're releasing the first episode, then every 2 weeks they're going to release another episode. They always said they were going to do that, and then every episode always got delayed. So, you know, sometimes we were waiting months between episodes, and sometimes it would just be a few weeks. They're still trying the episodic thing. More power to them. I would like it if stuff like this appeared on Netflix. You know, like Netflix gaming thing. This seems perfect for it. Just like whack it up. I think they did a Minecraft game or something, didn't they? I think was that not Telltale who did like a Minecraft game that appeared on Netflix? But yeah, I feel like stuff like this makes sense. It doesn't need to be on a console. You know, you can play it on your phone. You can play it on Netflix, and that maybe makes more sense than playing it on PC or whatever. Anyway. The next thing, so we need to hurry up a little bit because I do want to finish at 10. I think. Oh, I haven't got Flynn. No, I'm not going to be playing DMZ, so we can overrun a bit if I need to. That's good to know. Oh, speaking of which, I am going to be streaming later. I forgot to say, 3 o'clock today, UK time, I get to stream the Outlast Trials. So I'm going to be playing that. We get to play a little bit early ahead of the sort of public release. So if you want to see me playing a horror game, and I'm not good with horror games, I get really scared, and I don't really like stealth in horror games, which that game is entirely that. So it'll be an interesting one. So twitch.tv/Geeky Pastimes if you want to see me getting terrified in the Outlast Trials later. If I really enjoy it, I might make a video for YouTube. Although my Layers of Fear one didn't do very well. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, the news. We've got 3 more news stories. Couple of quick ones first. Twitch alerts are now being built into Twitch. Well, they're there, actually. You can see them. If you go into your Twitch dashboard, you can see a little alerts thing at the top. It still runs the same way other alert sites work. You know, it makes a browser source that you have to put into OBS. But I think it's interesting that, to me at least, it shows that Twitch are kind of understanding what they need to do a bit more. That I always find it weird when people talk about wanting to start streaming. It's like, okay, so you need OBS, and that's going to run, you know, all of your different sources and put them together into a video that's encoded, ready to stream. But then you also need something like Stream Elements because you need something that will manage your alerts. You need like another service. Some people use Streamlabs or Stream Elements or whatever. There's lots of like different things, and it's like it's a bit unwieldy having to use all these different services with different logins and things like that. If they can start putting all of that just into Twitch, and you know, if YouTube could do it just into YouTube, that would be really good, especially if it supports everything Twitch can do. Because I often find with things like Stream Elements or Streamlabs, whenever like YouTube or Twitch make a new feature, often their alerts don't quite match up to it. They don't quite work well. They don't update them very quickly. Whereas if Twitch are running it themselves, then they can make sure they've got alerts running for like, you know, the everything that is available on Twitch straight away. So they can have more information about the raids or the cheers or the subscriptions and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, I'm interested. Like, I think it looks quite good so far. It's a fairly straightforward thing, I think. But I think it's good that Twitch are starting to get a bit more involved in that side of streaming of like, hey, we're going to do everything we can to make sure you can stream just by using Twitch. I think that's really good for new streamers. So that's pretty cool. Pardon me. And then the next one today, happening today at 2 o'clock. So actually, I might even start my stream a little bit early and watch this. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll just do it at 3 o'clock anyway. But at 2 o'clock today, the Mortal Kombat trailer's coming. They've announced it on the Mortal Kombat Twitter page. there is a trailer coming for Mortal Kombat today at 2 o'clock, so we're going to find out what's going on with it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just like a teaser trailer and then it was like more information, you know, at Summer Games Fest or whatever, more information in June. But we're going to get something. I imagine, you know, we'll get a glimpse of which characters are in it, what's happening. I'm curious, you know, I'm not going to spend ages on it, but what sort of things would you want to see from a new Mortal Kombat game? I think, you know, it's very likely that it will be this kind of reboot thing with all of the teasers of the clock skipping 12 and going to 1, because this should be Mortal Kombat 12, but they're going to 1. So maybe it'll just be, you know, going back to basics. We'll have Liu Kang and Scorpion and Sub-Zero and Sonya and Kano, Shang Tsung, all of those people, Goro maybe. We'll go back to that kind of, go back to basics with it. And maybe it'll be a bit more toned down a little bit, you know, rather than the excess that was in the last few Mortal Kombat games, which, you know, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. I would say one thing that just occurred to me this morning that I would quite like, that would get me excited for it, would be if they had an all-new cast. You know, if they were like, okay, we're scrapping it completely. We don't have any of the returning characters, and we're just going for new characters. And they start doing something new. I don't think they'd do that because so many people will be like, I want to play Scorpion, I want to play Sub-Zero, whatever. But I just think it would be good for a lot of games to try that, just to start, you know, starting from fresh. I've said loads of times how much I liked it in COD Zombies when they started the Chaos storyline and just like new characters, new reason for zombies, new powers, new like everything. I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought that was very cool. I would kind of like more game series to be brave and do something like that, you know. Why not do World of Warcraft, but start it in a completely different time period for Azeroth and get rid of all of the characters that are in it at the moment? You know, why not do with Star Wars? They've talked about doing a High Republic, and I was like excited about that until I saw that bloody Yoda's in it, and still. It's like, why not do it, you know, Knights of the Old Republic era, go back to when, you know, all new characters. I just think stuff like that is quite fun, where it's like you've got kind of the same universe, but with a fresh start, a new story, a new cast of characters. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, we'll see. I'm sure we'll see a bit more. We'll find out what character in it. I'm almost sure it will just be the same characters as always in it, you know, the same core of characters. But yeah, that's coming at 2 o'clock. I'm looking forward to it. I'll watch it for sure as soon as it goes live. And then when I'm streaming Outlast Trials, we'll be talking about it for sure. And then finally, the main news story today. And God, we've got here with only 8 minutes to go. I thought I was going to have to fill time doing just news, but like, really don't have to. There's a lot of news today. Is the PlayStation showcase has been announced, and it's sooner than I thought. I expected all of the kind of E3 type things to be when E3 normally was, at the beginning of June, or that second week of June. But it's the PlayStation showcase is happening on May 24th, so that's just under a week away. So next Wednesday, it's going to be, the other good thing about it, it's going to be at 9 p.m. for us in the UK, which is really cool. So 1 p.m. Pacific, but 9 p.m. for us in the UK. Normally, the PlayStation E3 showcase always used to be at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., and that sucked. That was like really sad. It's because they did it in the evening in LA, which meant it was like, you know, middle of the night for us. But doing it at 9 p.m., like I can actually watch it. I could co-stream it. That could be a lot of fun. Although we'll see how much copyrighted music there is in it, maybe. But yeah, I'm excited. So I thought it'd be a good thing to talk about. What sort of thing do you want to see from the PlayStation Showcase? What games are you hoping for? So I'm going to start off with games I expect to see. So things I'm pretty sure will be at that PlayStation Showcase. So number one, I think the most likely thing to be there is Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, I think we'll see gameplay. We'll see someone actually playing it on stage. We'll get a release date for it. We'll just get a ton of information about it. I'm curious to see how it goes. Like, is it still going to be set in New York? Like, is it going to be, you know, heavily involved with like Miles Morales? Would make sense, you know, having two of them. Is it going to be co-op? That would be cool. We'll see how it's going. So I'm pretty sure Spider-Man 2, that'll be there. And then maybe some sort of like DLC or something for Gran Turismo, maybe. Some sort of expansion for it. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something, you know, Formula 1 stuff in Gran Turismo, Formula E, maybe, or maybe just, you know, an electric car thing for it. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something more, because they seem to have had quite a big push with it at PlayStation VR. That seems to be like the most popular game for PlayStation VR 2. So maybe we'll see some more from that. I would really love to get PlayStation VR 2, mostly just for Gran Turismo. I feel like if I was going to make a big a big expenditure right now, and it wasn't like investing in the stream, you know, I need, if anyone hears of any sponsorships going for like new monitors, I need a new monitor, I need a new camera, really. Things like that. That would be great. But if I was just going to spend money, it'd probably be on PSVR 2 just to play Gran Turismo. But I can't justify 500 quid to play bloody Gran Turismo. But yeah, that would be very, very exciting. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something new for Gran Turismo. And then maybe the new Final Fantasy VII Remake, the second part of that, I can't remember what it's called, but Final Fantasy VII Remake 2, maybe we'll see something from that. Like, even if it's just a teaser trailer or something like that. Because I think that's meant to be coming out, like, soonish, isn't it? That would be pretty cool. But what else are we going to see? So those are the things that I think we'll see. I think we'll see something for Gran Turismo. I think we'll see Spider-Man 2. I think we'll probably see something for Final Fantasy VII Remake 2. And then it's like, what else are we going to see? Like, I know there's a new Twisted Metal TV show coming out, so maybe Twisted Metal, like maybe a new Twisted Metal game, or, a remake or something like that. Maybe Blue Point or someone are doing a remake, something like that. I feel like I heard about a remake being made for it, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just confusing it with the TV show. Resident Evil DLC, I can imagine them doing a bit more Resident Evil DLC, or maybe even a new Resident Evil game, the sequel to Village. Because I feel like that should be a trilogy, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village, and something else. That would probably fit at home with a Sony conference. Maybe Death Stranding 2. I mean, that might be more Summer Games Fest, because I know Hideo Kojima loves Jeff Keighley, or vice versa. I'm not quite sure what their relationship is. But maybe that'd be more. But maybe we could see some more Death Stranding 2. Maybe a new Metal Gear Solid. Like, we haven't had a Metal Gear Solid for bloody ages. We had 5, but then it's like, are they going to do another one after Kojima has gone now? Like, are Konami finally going to, like, give it a go without him and see where that goes? Or maybe, like a spin-off type thing for that. Maybe Revengeance 2. Or, was it Revengeance? Metal Gear Rising. Metal Gear Rising. I just remember the trailer was like, revenge with a vengeance. Revengeance. That was very funny. So, yeah, like, maybe, like, Metal Gear Rising 2 or something like that could be a lot of fun. But, like, what else? Team Eco? Do we know what Team Eco's doing? Like, they did that, the team that did Shadow of Colossus and Eco, they did Last Guardian, but that was the last thing they did, wasn't it? And I know that took forever to come out. So maybe they could be working on something new. Maybe they could have something. God of War Ragnarok DLC, Joe W saying. Did God of War 2019 didn't have DLC, did it? I would expect, again, I would kind of expect it to be a trilogy. And I would say it's more likely that we'd get, like, a sign that there is a third game, there's something coming after Ragnarok, but probably not today, not this week, not like, not now. There'll probably be a bit later. I think God of War's kind of had its time for this year, and then maybe in a couple of years we'll hear a bit more of that. Silent Hill 2, yeah, the Silent Hill 2 remake, we could definitely see a bit more of that, for sure. SOCOM, do you think I don't think we'll ever see a SOCOM again. I don't think that will come back, personally. I just feel like if you brought out a SOCOM game now, you've got to compete with like Call of Duty and Ghost Recon and Battlefield and stuff. And I just feel like that would be very, very hard for them to do. Maybe Ragnarok on PC. I didn't know Ragnarok wasn't out on PC. I just assumed it was. So yeah, maybe Ragnarok, maybe a bit more of like their commitment to PC games. Maybe it'll be like Spider-Man 2 is coming out day and date on PC, or God of War Ragnarok on PC, or Gran Turismo on PC. That'd be a big deal. That'd be pretty cool. Let's start thinking then. So those are maybe the games that we expect them to do. What would we want to see? What would be... Oh, the other one, actually, note, there's one other thing I expect. Last of Us multiplayer. They've been... Not Last of Us. Yeah, Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer. They were talking about it for ages. We still haven't seen anything of it. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a big reveal. I predict, this is my prediction, is that they'll shadow drop a like beta for it. So there'll be a beta either the day that this happens, or it'll be like, okay, you can sign up for the beta now, and then it's going to happen next weekend or something. I think something that'll happen, so we'll be able to play the new Last of Us game, like the new Last of Us multiplayer. That would be quite cool. And, maybe it'll be like an extraction shooter or something like that. That'd be fun. But yeah, so what sort of things would we want? What sort of like dream projects? For me, a big one would be MotorStorm. I think MotorStorm would be a pretty big deal. Like, if they made a new MotorStorm game, I don't even know if the studio still exists that made MotorStorm, but I would be really, really excited about that. I would be really happy with a new MotorStorm game. A new Wipeout. We haven't had a Wipeout for a long while. And the last couple of Wipeout games are actually pretty good. So, like, a PlayStation 5 Wipeout, super fancy graphics and everything, PSVR enabled, like the last Wipeout was. That could be super fun. That could be really cool. I don't really care about all of their stuff, you know, like Jack and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Crash Bandicoot. I don't really care about any of that stuff. So I'm not too fussed about any of that. Oh, Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima's not on PC. That surprises me as well. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Ghost of Tsushima came to PC. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Ghost of Tsushima. Maybe they'll do like Ghost of Tsushima 2 and they'll do a trailer for it and everything. And then they'll be like, oh, and the first one is now out on PC. Yeah, definitely. You don't think it'll ever make it to PC? Why is that? Why don't you think it'll do it? Days Gone did, didn't it? Days Gone's on PC, Horizon's on PC, all of their other third-person adventure games are. What's special about Ghost that wouldn't... I mean, I'd be tempted to play it again on PC. I was like, I do want to play it again. You know, I played it when it first came out, and I know now there's been like updates and stuff to make it run a lot better on PlayStation 5. With the co-op and everything that I've never tried in it, I feel like I would be up for playing that again on PC and trying to do stuff like that. Maybe. What other games would we want? Would we be hoping for? Like, it's really difficult for me because I didn't grow up with PlayStation games, really. Like, I didn't have a PlayStation until basically PlayStation 3 was out. I bought a PlayStation 2, like a broken one, super, super late in its life cycle. But I, you know, played like San Andreas and Shadow of the Colossus, and that was about it on it. I didn't really play much on it at all. But like, I don't know what other things people would want to see like come back. Like, I personally wouldn't care about a new Little Big Planet. Like, all of their platform stuff, I just don't care about. I'm just not that interested. Oh, Killzone or Resistance. Either of their first-person shooter things. I'd be quite excited about that. If there was, like... If they did, like, you know, a Killzone or Resistance, like, Battle Royale or Extraction Shooter or something like that, or even just a campaign game, I'd be pretty excited for that. I think that would be pretty cool. You think they'll show the Wolverine game? I don't. I don't think we'll see anything of that Wolverine game until Spider-Man's out. I think Spider-Man will come out this year, and then after that's out, maybe at the end of that game, there'll be a teaser. You know, it'll be like you finished the Spider-Man game, and then there'll be a teaser trailer at the end of the game for Wolverine. You know, like classic Marvel kind of stuff. But I think we're not going to see anything from Wolverine until Spider-Man comes out, because I don't think they'll want attention taken away from it. Personally, that's my thoughts. It'll be interesting to see if Sony is doing, because I'm sure they said at some point that they were doing some live service games, that they had like 5 big live service games in the works. I can't remember when they said that or if any of them came out, but it would be interesting to see if they have something like that, you know, if they have some big extraction shooter, battle royale, just something, some big multiplayer thing, live service thing. Again, if they shadow drop it, that would be amazing. I'd be super excited for that. That would be very, very cool. Paulo says, I think because they make more money on console than PC in regards to it, so as soon as it hits PC, people will just download it for free from a cheeky website. But with Ghost of Tsushima, they've already given it away for free on PlayStation, haven't they? It's already in the PlayStation Plus collection, which I know they just shut down recently. And it's been in PlayStation Plus, I think, as well. Like, I think like they've kind of got the money they've got from it on PlayStation. I don't think that they would miss out on too much by now releasing it on PC. I don't think that would happen. Anyway, we'll see. It's happening on May 24th, 9 p.m. for us. I probably won't live stream it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Unless they offer me some fancy stream graphics or promotion or something. I doubt I'll do that. I'll probably just watch it and tweet along with it. But then the next morning, on May 25th, we'll talk all about it. So make sure if you haven't already, you subscribe. And as I was talking about earlier, if you do want to support the channel, making money, if you want to give back, you know, you listen to me talking like, yeah, I should pay for the content I consume. And, you know, maybe you run ad blockers or something. Consider becoming a member. Then all's forgiven. It's only $1.99 a month, and it helps me out an absolute bunch. You just press the join button on YouTube, and you can do that. That would be awesome. If you want to follow me over on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Geeky Pastimes. I'll put the link in chat, because I'm going to be heading over there at about 3 o'clock, so a little bit later than usual, just because that's an embargo for Outlast Trials. So we're going to be playing a spooky horror game at 3 o'clock. That's in 5 hours from now. So 5 hours from now is when I'll be doing that. So go over there, give me a follow. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in. I do appreciate everyone who turns out for these podcasts every morning. And I will see you all later. Goodbye. Nope.